Welcome back. Earlier we were speaking to a politician, Dennis Bloem, and let's stick to the general theme. In the run-up to her funeral, tributes to Winnie Madikizela-Mandela have exposed some of the divisions between current and former ANC leaders. Trevor Manuel had harsh words for the current ANC Secretary-General, Magashule, and a tribute, I remember earlier, by former President Thabo Mbeki prompted harsh criticism. He made references to Madikizela-Mandela's statement that with our necklaces, we will liberate the country. He said that was wrong. Could there be more tensions in the run-up to the funeral on Saturday? To discuss, we're joined by political analyst, Professor Lesiba Teffo. Professor, thank you for being with us. I tried to ask you earlier, you couldn't hear. But the first thing is, should Magashule be responding to these claims that 3 million rand for her home has disappeared?
Well, look, it's unfortunate all these things are around and about the death of Mama Winnie Mandela, because information has been there in the public. We all know about this. We have known about this. We have read about this. And the dispute and the denials don't take us anywhere, because we know for a fact something ought to have been done. 5-8 years ago, nothing has transpired.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what the people are defending, rather than to own up to say, we haven't done what ought to have been done. Maybe, given a chance, we'll do it the right way. Maybe let me take it a little further. You see, what I find it more regrettable and unfortunate is that people who failed her while she was still alive, and she said that much about them, are now pontificating and claiming that they can do X and Z, or they can pick up the spear. When she was infirm, disabled, incapacitated, that's the time when some of us should have stood up and said, sit down, mom, now it's our turn to take the spear and move on, rather than to wait for her to die. Hence, I go along with the sentiments expressed yesterday by Mama Gracia Machel. That same was said when Mandela passed on 4 years ago. However, the country is worse off today than at the time when he left. Similarly, Ndilega said yesterday that Mom would have been much happier if she had heard and seen you do the things that you promised to do after the cameras suddenly have switched off on Monday.
Should we then at least maybe consider that former President Thabo Mbeki was at least honest in his assessment of her? They were seen on camera, he was seen buffing her away. He then said she was reckless at times, and he seemed to be reflecting what the leadership at certain times in our history have thought of Winnie Madikizela-Mandela. Was he at least being honest?
Is what Mbeki said not documented? Is what Mbeki said not in the public eye? For those who were new, political novices, or ignorant of what transpired yesterday, maybe let's go and revisit the books of history. You may argue this may not be the opportune time, but let us not sanitize or rewrite history. I know for a fact we failed Winnie, and people must just own up. And I'm asking myself a very simple question. What will the winning nations of the world do? Instead of singing and dancing and spending more man-hours, a social worker in the person of Winnie, if I were to make my humble contribution, would be, at least if each one of could have contributed just in the 2 weeks, R1 each, to build either a school, a crèche, or a clinic that a social worker of a caliber was, I'm sure would have been a more fitting monument in each province. Not everywhere, just one per province. Let's decide how best to honor her in these 2 weeks. And we say R10 each, those who want to contribute. It's not compulsory. I think that would have been a more fitting contribution, tribute, memorialization, and remembrance of the lady who has given so much for her country.
All right, so we hear you. Going back to Thabo Mbeki, his attendance at the funeral, given what he did say about her, will no doubt be controversial.
Well, why would you single him out? Because so many people said a few things, that's number one. And maybe in the words of Gwede Mantashe, it would be uncharacteristic of Winnie if there wouldn't be chaos at her funeral. I hope you have read that. It has been covered in the newspapers. I wouldn't want to use such a strong term that there should be and there would be chaos. And all I'm saying is that let them find each other and be able to work together and accept that Winnie was not a perfect person, but the good that she has done surpasses the bad that she did, like all human beings. And indeed, let's celebrate her. But there are other ways to celebrate her in concrete and material terms, like I've proposed. Build one clinic in one province, one school, and at least one crèche in her honor.
Was this a chance for the President, Cyril Ramaphosa, to lead an effort like that? I do think he did have a warm relationship with her. Does that stand him in good stead now? He spoke about her today, and there also seemed to be honesty there. He said she was militant. That's undisputed. Is he looking good in all of this?
Look, I think Ramaphosa has started well with his team. I prefer to talk about him and with the collective rather than as the individual. They can take advantage of the mood prevailing and see how best they can do some of these things. And more, I would have said those who were in the planning room, those who were in the warehouse or room, if I were to call it that planning for these 2 weeks, if they had come with something concrete, something material, that would really memorialize her better, I think I would have appreciated that. Nonetheless, these are some of the sentiments others can share with me that says, yes, let McBuffalo take the lead and say, we have spoken is enough, we have done this enough. Let's go out as per province now and do something concrete, something material that can stand as a legacy and a remembrance, and that the little ones, when they pass by, right, men and women, they can doff their heads and take a bow and say, here is a remembrance of one who gave her all when she was called upon in the hour of need, especially in the darkest hour of South Africa.
Professor, finally, if there is chaos, we don't know, but if there is division, can we at least say that I think her critics and her praise singers agree on one thing, and that is Winnie Madikizela-Mandela's fearlessness. So that is the rallying point that everyone can agree on.
Yes, we are all agreed. She has made tremendous contribution. And I think let them just suspend the politicking within the party, because it's all about the factions within the organization. There's no doubt about that. And I don't have a better way to put it rather than just to concede the fact that they are perpetuating what some of us thought they have transcended. When after Nasrec, we had hoped they will work on a self-corrective program. But if anything, I'm beginning to have the sense that says the wedge is broadening. But I'm appealing to them, suspend whatever it is, and then just walk in unison, hand in hand, as per the culture that nurtured you. In the spirit of Ubuntu, let's give a fitting farewell, and later on, you can go back and play your politics.
All right, thank you very much. From Pretoria, Professor Lesiba Teffo for us.